Hi, and welcome to the Trading Bell. Now, matters data, what to do about it, and what are some of the laws that exist and some of the regulations you need to comply with. We're here in the office of the Data Protection Commissioner, and she's going to help us understand and really demystify what we need to do to prepare. Come with me, and welcome to the Trading Bell. Immaculate, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Yes. It's good to have you here, and a beautiful place you have here. Just for the sake of our viewers, I want us to start from the basics of people who have heard just about data. Most of the times it's in events. Give us permission to take photos, those kind of things. But I just wanted to understand on a very basic level for the people who are watching today. When you talk about ODPC, this office, what's your mandate to Kenya?
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for that question, and thank you for having me on the show. It's really a great pleasure to start the year with one of the sector that is of great interest to the Commission.
Absolutely.
When we talk about data, just a quick background. Under the Constitution, the right to privacy. And one of the things it basically says your personal information should not be shared unnecessarily, including that of your family. So when we drill down to what is this personal information, your name, your address, your email, your special, and even we go further in terms of categorization of even more deep personal information, your health, your financial detail, your religious belief, your political belief, there's a lot. But why is it important for you to protect that information? Because those are things that revolves around your consciousness, around things that are very personal to you. And think the analogy we like to give, in your house, you don't want your neighbors looking over your house, so you put a curtain. And just to a level of privacy, because when you then open it, everybody can see it. That is the same with personal information. So this office was established to make sure that that space of personal information is for you and can only be used in a certain way. And therefore, our main mandate is to protect the rights of the data subject. All that information is protected. And those people who are utilizing information, or companies in many cases, or even government institution, use it in a specific way. And when they use it in a specific way, it is then not misused. So our work is to regulate that space. And when it's misused, we can come in and then call you out, conduct an investigation, do an audit, and things like that.
Okay. Thank you so much for that brief. And I just also wanted to clarify, is it just limited when you talk about places like physical records or those ones collected at registration desks, such kind of things, and manual processes, or it's broader than all this? It
is broader than all that. There has been a misconception of people believing that data is just what is collected online, but it is broader. It's any the storage, it is the form. At the end of the day, what matters is that personal information. Yes.
2019 is when you were inaugurated in terms of as a commission. And I just wanted to ask you, I know there are many milestones that have really been achieved so far, but when you look at your work so far, what would you say are the one or two, because I know there could be many, key milestones that you can say as a commission we have achieved?
The inauguration is 2020. The Act came into force in 2019. I would say the real key milestone is that data protection has become a conversation in this country. Before 2019, nobody knew about data protection.
No wonder we're having this interview.
No one. I mean, we would collect information. We had data brokers mining people's information. No one would ask any questions. So for me, that's a real big achievement. The other one is operationalizing this office, including being present in various towns, from Mombasa to Nakuru to Kisumu. We will now Nyeri and Machakos in Konza and Nairobi. For me, that's a really big milestone, because then we are taking the services to the people for them to be present. The other key milestone for me is the capacity for people to actually undertake a registration online without coming physically to our office. I think for me that's a real key milestone, because we understood, given how broad the mandate of the office is, it will be next to impossible to then ask people to then, you increase bureaucracy So the fact that companies are able and government institutions to register online and using online platform from start to end, for me that's a real big milestone, because it's an office that was starting, because we see many offices trying to automate post fact. Now as we automate, we automated from the beginning, so that's a very big key milestone. And of course being able to now have staff, and something that we took on with later when enforcement. And I often say, whereas the office, it's not always good to run around with a stick, but it has helped in terms of creating awareness. So some of our enforcement decisions have made people talk. Nowadays, the conversation about data protection is real. Okay. Even you go to any supplier, big supplier, you walk in on the entrance, they've written data protection. Okay. What does I mean, for me, that's a key. It's a conversation that the whole country is talking about.
Okay, which is great. I think that's an achievement, especially in terms of awareness. And we shall dive deeper into that. Yeah. But I'm keen on your 5-year anniversary highlights. Yes. And I just wanted to quote a few things here. You highlighted determinations of enforcement notices, penalty notices issued. And I wanted to ask you what specific triggers or patterns often lead to enforcement actions, and how you ensure proportionality in penalties. Because I think in the news sometime we were just curious when we first of all had someone is being awarded because their data was used without their permission and stuff like that. Yeah.
Let me start by just creating let me start by on the onset saying we encourage compliance. Yes. And compliance is important for companies, because I say you might look at yourself as a small SME in Kenya. Yeah. However, every business actually aspires to grow to global levels. If you have if you are aiming at working with the European Union or members of the European Union countries or European Union citizen, the fact that GDPR or the general privacy regulations in Europe are critical means that if your SME, as small as it is in Kenya, violates that space, then you will be fined. Yeah. 2, as an SME growing, you will want to attract capital.
Absolutely.
Reputation becomes a key issue. Many times the compliance is not even about the amount, because by the way, in this region, we probably are finding the least. Yeah. It is about your reputation. You don't want to be that firm that is not complying with data protection. But coming in terms of proportionality and how do we get there? Yeah. The beauty about the Data Protection Act actually gives you a chance as a company or a government institution to be heard. And we say that is that we have to give a fairness. So we if there's a complaint against the office, we're able to analyze and scrutinize it and make a determination whether we should proceed or not. Some might fall outside our scope. Others might be ongoing issues in court, and so on and so forth. Once when we make a determination, there's a case to be answered. We then embark on writing to you. Once we write to you, we give you a certain period of time when you respond. Please remember, we have 90 days to make our determination under the law. Once we embark on an investigation, there's back and forth between us and the complainant and the company or a government institution where there's a complaint against. And then from there, based on investigation, we come to an investigation. And our determination have to be very specific. Okay. Which rights have been violated? Oh, yeah. And the rights of data subject are very well defined in law. It is right to access, that could be one. Right to object to processing. When we say right to object to processing, I could be your customer and we have a contractual obligation, and then you say, at this point, I don't want you to continue with this. And then you continue. Yeah. Or you even publish my information or my photograph or unsolicited emails for commercial use. So when we ask you to explain that, and there is no justifiable reason why this happened, or it did happen, and you did not take remedial measures, our determination is based on, did you take remedial measures? Okay. And we actually have a matrix based on the level of violation of this right, to what extent, and how then do we arrive at that amount. That is what determines it. And many times you will find, and we really encourage, as a company, if the first point of call through either alternative dispute resolution or through your company, if a customer complains, please always remember, customer is king or queen. Yeah. take their complaints seriously.
Okay.
Because many companies that find themselves in the receiving end, there was a complaint, they did nothing about it. They did nothing about it, they did not respond to it.
Right.
So in that case, by the time it's coming to us, it's already too late.
Yeah.
Because you will then, and we have seen a trend at times, the people only respond, some ignore, others only respond after the complaint has been officially filed.
Oh.
So
It's too late.
Yes, it's late in the day.
Yes.
Once you have there's no small complaint. Please remember, is this complaint worth the reputation? Yeah, because there could be, but the others were frivolous. We have seen also others who are frivolous. Others, I would say some companies is lack of awareness. I always encourage, it's important for them in terms of a compliance journey. Please invest in compliance. Just like companies take audit very seriously.
Yeah.
Compliance with data protection becomes one of the most critical issues, in addition to other things that companies are now embracing, what we call ESG. Yeah, it's important to comply. Don't wait until it's too late. So that is what determines the proportionality in terms of how did we arrive at this decision. There's a matrix, and it depends how quick you responded to the issue. Did it come to, had you already put in place mechanism? But beyond that, we also had other mechanism like audit. There are companies we have audited. We also have other mechanism like building capacity. We have tried as much as possible to encourage companies to get on board, audit firms to get on board, capacity building firms, so that they understand, because it's a new area. It's relatively new, you have to say, even though some other continent has started a while back. For us, 2019, it's 5 years.
Which brings me to a question that is off the cuff as you were speaking, and I'm thinking, 5 years, we're talking 5 years now. Would, haven't you had some, I don't want to call it, let me call it pushback to your end, especially from the corporates who find themselves sometimes as the culprits, from individuals who sometimes will sue them or talk to them and say, guys, you should have given us some time for us to at least understand, comply, and probably ask for extended time. Are those conversations that have been on the desk?
They are, and we had them initially. By the way, we did not start enforcement until probably around 2022. Please remember, this office was there at 2020, and we were very deliberate. We were extremely deliberate. Never mind, the law does not give you that leeway, but we were deliberate. We really went out of our way, and we keep saying and reiterating, this is a government office. If you have questions, we are available. Walking into our door, write to us, and we see a lot of questions. Am I allowed to transfer customer data from Kenya to another country? And we will write to you. We'll give you an opinion. Because we are very deliberate in terms of encouraging compliance. Because so we are aware that this is a space. I often say encourage compliance, because you don't want people to be operating below the ladder. But if they feel safe to come and ask you questions, then they feel that they can actually then have their concerns addressed.
So I think, over to you, companies. You have what it takes now to at least comply. Speaking of matters compliance, and especially when it comes to enforcement as well, I'm curious to know, for the person who could be listening today and asking, if, for example, there's a data breach and a mishandling of personal information, what supports do you give as ODPC or provide to the affected individuals?
The data breach, let me distinguish. Data breach actually means that you had a cyber security situation where somebody accessed your information who is unauthorized, and that information ended up in the wrong hand. So what is expected from companies is to report to us within 72 hours. And why companies will find it difficult to even report a data breach, or at times they take longer, we have seen in some places where you have conducted audit, it could take even 3 weeks. It means that you haven't actually done a proper mapping of your data and put in place safeguards so that you're able to, when that happens, it should be brought to your attention. That is one of the challenges. So it could be an issue of capacity. Issue number 2 could be an issue of fear. Because, and it's normal for human beings, you operate in an environment, if I disclose that there was a breach, it could work against us, or that information will end up where it's not. But I'm quick to advise companies.
Yeah.
Please remember, when there has been a breach, even if you didn't tell us, we'll find out.
Yeah.
Because your customers will report to us. That information could find itself in the dark web, and it finds itself in this office.
Absolutely.
So what is the lesser evil? I believe in the era of accountability, and today we have been taught accountability is everything, especially with social media.
Yeah.
People, somehow, somewhere, somebody, that information will get out. You can't hide.
Yeah.
Isn't it better to be the one breaking your story?
Yeah.
To be the one telling your customer, by the way, because
this happened.
This happened. Because the truth of the matter is, there's nobody who has first-hand rule on how to deal with the new technology. We are all learning. There always will be challenges. No one is immune. It's like trying to say we are all immune to COVID-19 unless you had you had a jab, and initially we didn't have.
Yeah.
So we are all. The first thing is you get COVID, and then you become your immune system. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's better be the one breaking your story to your customers, because what that gives you, it gives you an introspect.
Yeah.
That this has happened. How can we make sure that this will not happen in the future?
You're right.
And that's the purpose of reporting a data breach.
Okay.
We will do we had weaknesses. We didn't know where our data was stored. We didn't classify our data. We had human weaknesses because people are not properly trained. We had then it tells you, so based on this is how we are going to make sure that this doesn't reoccur. And if it reoccurs, this is the mitigation. It is a self-retrospective.
Okay.
When you report data breaches. It's so important, because you don't want your customer to be the one catching you flat-footed. Then it becomes an issue of reactionary.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I am sure businesses are not in the business of reacting, because you end up losing much more. Because then you're trying to firefight.
Yeah.
And where's the zima moto yote? We have just been taught, unfortunately, when some of these disasters happen, trying to firefight.
So
you're not well equipped.
Yeah.
But preempting helps you to prepare better as a business, and especially when it comes to risk management.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of preempting and risk management, corporates are watching. I mean, their heads are also watching. And I come from a place where we have a lot of companies, like the listed companies, who have a lot of data, shareholders, all that. And I'm sure you've already communicated as much as possible to them on some of the measures they need to take. For the ones who probably are still somewhere, not caught yet, but hopefully at risk, what would be your words to them to ensure that they don't get themselves in that place?
I would say take the bold step. I know there's expectation or there's an assumption that compliance is extremely costly. Non-compliance will cost you more.
Yeah.
Take baby steps. Baby steps as easy as beginning to register as a data, which is compulsory. And I often say people have had such a long lead time before we pounce on them like Kanjo.
Yeah.
Where we go and see who has an inspection certificate. I mean, or not.
Yeah.
Take baby steps. Take baby steps.
Yeah.
And you can. No one will fault you for taking baby steps. Baby steps are better than doing nothing at all.
Yeah. And what would be the starting point for maybe there's a business as well as an SME who says, okay, I have had it. Where do I start?
I think baby steps starts from registration.
Okay.
Because at that point, when you're filling the registration form as a data controller and data processor, it actually prompts you.
Okay.
Some of the questions it will ask you, how many people, how much data do you process? Do you process the type of personal data? Do you transfer your data outside the country?
Yeah.
What safety measures do you undertake? What these questions are doing, they are prompting you.
Yeah.
In terms of classification of your data and mapping, because it begins to show you where is our, because there are people who don't know where the data is. Some is stored in warehouses. They don't know who has access to that warehouses. Never mind if that information got out, you'll still be liable. Some, they don't know whether it is stored abroad.
Yeah.
They don't know whether it's stored in cloud. They don't know which cloud. Them, they just have a data provider. And then this this person, the service provider who they are with, they don't even have a contractual agreement of non-disclosure.
Yeah.
They've not vetted them. They don't know whether they are mining this information to use it for customer or selling it. That is how you get into trouble.
Absolutely.
Because you're a company, you want to automate, you then get into a contract with a third-party company, which you're told is a ICT solution. You don't do background check on them. You don't know where they take your information from. You are not in any agreement with them. So take baby steps, because that registration begin to prompt you.
Yeah.
Take baby step. If you can afford it, get outsourced services for somebody who can help you.
Yeah.
Alternatively, designate a data protection officer in your office who then helps you in terms of compliance, just like we have internal auditors.
Yeah.
Make sure that you set aside resources on capacity building for your staff. And there's a lot of information. Even we as a data protection authority, this year we have set aside resources in terms of capacity building, because we realize that's the only way to increase the uptake. There are many institutions that are offering that, including Kenya School of Government and many others.
Yeah.
Take those baby steps of capacity building for your staff. Do data protection impact assessment. If you're collecting high volumes of data, high risk, very sensitive data, do that. Report data breaches through a 365. I mean, there's a lot.
Okay.
There's a lot, but just take baby steps. It's just like as when you go to preschool, you don't know how to read, but and we all say like, I'm not going to start school, we'll never be literate.
Okay.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
My next question is two-part, and it's on the challenges and emerging technologies we're seeing. A lot of it is actually cross-border, because sometimes with the much data that we are receiving, especially for corporates, organizations, whatever they are, they end up even outsourcing in cloud services and all that. And I'm sure there is a place there for how safe is that data out there in outsourcing. And also the emerging technologies such as the biometric systems that we see. We're also seeing the IoT devices, AI, and all that. What plans are there, or what guidelines could be there, or what are you seeing?
Yeah. We already have cross-data flows, by the way. It's a conversation. You invite me here, we discuss another day.
Yes,
it's a big conversation.
Yes.
It's a big conversation because it's in the center of trade.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's in the center of trade. It determines, in terms of the African Free Trade Area, how African countries can access the entire African country. It's in the center because we need proper guidelines. It's in the center because data flows are not well coordinated. We don't have harmonized flows across Africa.
Yeah. So
different countries have uniqueness.
Yeah.
Yet, as much as it's center, can't be done away with. Cloud computing is a reality today.
Yeah.
My throwback to companies, please pay attention to what the regulations say on categories of data that we are supposed to keep a copy in Kenya.
Yeah.
Please pay attention, because not doing that then puts you on an non-compliance.
Yeah.
Yeah, even as we embrace cloud, there's nowhere, luckily for Kenya, it's flexible. We don't say store your data locally, we say just keep a copy for obvious strategic reasons. That is one. On issues around emerging technology and even including facial recognition, it is, I think there are guidelines in terms of how to go about it. For us, that's one of the areas you really need to do a data protection impact assessment.
Yeah.
Because you're collecting very sensitive information. So you need to do that so that you're able to identify what are the risks and how then will you mitigate the risks as a company.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for that. As we come near the end of the conversation, I want to address the issue of public awareness.
Yes.
Because most people, I'm sure there's some people who are actually hearing this probably for the first time on this conversation, which is still part of the awareness. I want to ask you what you're doing about it, and also address a personal thing. When I told someone that I'm coming here, I think Kenyans are skeptic a little, because I think a lot of their data have been collected, and we have had several times where even the government has come out collecting data, people saying where they taking this data, some decided not to give it, and nothing really ended up happening. Then there were rumors, the data has leaked out, all those kind of things. I want you to address as well those skeptics as well. So this is really personal, public awareness and the skepticism that we see around.
Yeah, and it's not unusual in this era. I think We are seeing a complete different culture globally in terms of trust. We are retreating back to individual.
Yeah.
And trusting less institutions. We are not trusting churches like we used to in the 15th, 16th century, where if the church said this, we followed.
Yeah.
The political institutions are also being challenged. So it's an interesting conversation across the globe. Having said that, either way, we are in a pot together, and to be specific in geographically, in a country called Kenya, African-wise in a continent called Kenya. Technologically, there are no boundaries. That's the truth. There are no boundaries. Technologically, information moves from here to everywhere else. So coming to awareness creation, we are not yet there. We are trying to do as much as we can. Our intervention, we've been to counties, we have done awareness creation. We continue to do it because you also have to remind people. And at times people have not heard about it, so we continue to do it. We are celebrating in Privacy Day later in the month. Part of awareness creation is also to continuously remind people where it is. We have seen a great interest and growth in the privacy sector with many young professionals on data protection. We have 2 institutions dealing with data protection. That's awareness. 5 years ago, that was non-existent. So that's awareness, and we are happy because they have even volunteered. One of the institutions has volunteered to actually do pro bono work on people whose data protection has been violated, which is a great, tremendous stride. Having said that, in terms of awareness, let me ask, before the office of the Data Protection Commissioner, did we feel as safe?
No.
You see? So this office is there to offer that safety and to also be a shield. And I know there has been a lot of concern about government collecting information. The truth of the matter is, many times when government institutions collect information, it's actually within the law. However, there are guardrails. It's not a blanket check. There are certain things they're supposed to do. Our work here is to make sure, even as they do that, they do it within those set guidelines. And that we ensure. We ensure that that is done. We ask questions on your behalf.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. So in closing, I think I want to ask how you are really looking forward to in the next phase of your assignment. What are you looking forward to? What are you and your team really looking forward to achieving the country, as well as international best practice? What are you as well seeking to align with that?
I think one of the best things we're looking forward to, one of the things we're looking forward to is international best practice of an adequacy decision. An adequacy decision with the European Union. We are in negotiation with them. We'll open up the Kenyan market to the European market. It means that data protection, data flows between Kenya and Europe are going to be similar. We're going to be given, it's like giving us some visa to that space. It means we'll be able to access European businesses and vice versa. That's a big market for us. So in terms of international practices, that is one. Two, as a country, I believe that at a regional level, the time has come for us to have data protection conversation, and it will ease business. It will ease business for companies that are doing cross-border trade. Currently, the difficulties is the expectation that they are going to put up data centers across. It's expensive. So we are due for conversation. We are seeing East Africa community leading that conversation. So that will help us in terms of that. Locally, I'm looking forward to the day when my data as a Kenyan, before it is utilized by a company, whether private or I am asked or I'm informed. Please note that consent is not the only, because that's the other thing that Kenyans are always expecting. You didn't ask for permission. However, your permission is not always required when it is provided for under the law. But it is good in terms of accountability if I am informed. Like happens in some country, by the way, your information is being utilized here. It's good for accountability. So for me, that would be a great achievement. And 3 is, from where I sit, is to hold more companies accountable in terms of how they use personal data.
Yeah.
Yes.
What are the learnings? I mean, because we have seen some people taken to court, others been awarded, and I've heard you in a statement say that there's also alternative dispute mechanisms that you've put in place.
Yeah.
So what are the learnings of what's happening around that dispute, resolve and kind of issues? I
would like to encourage it more.
Yeah.
Let us resort to alternative dispute resolution for companies and Kenyans whose rights are. But I also want to urge the general public, when your rights are violated and we resort to alternative dispute resolution, it's important to have reasonable expectation, because that is one of the learnings we have seen. People come with an unreasonable expectation. Exactly. Expectation. Be reasonable, and it's possible to see reasonable expectation because already the Act gives you a guide. Yeah. It is between 5 million or 1% of the previous year. So that's a range. And there are determinations we have made. I want to urge, let's company use alternative dispute resolution. Okay. It is a good way to go. Let companies take baby steps. Okay. Let them take baby step towards this journey on data protection. Yeah. It's important. Let us be ready. Don't be caught flat-footed. All right. Because you're trying to you be in the deep end, and there's a breach. People often say one of the biggest nightmare for CEOs, which is true, is a data breach or a cyber security breach. Imagine in the middle of the night you don't know where the data is. You're now starting to ask ICT, by the way, where are our servers? By the way, what apps are we using? No. You really need to have a basic understanding of where your information is. After all, today, and the truth is, information is power, and data is the new oil. Yes. Yeah. If you want to know, if you don't believe me, just check globally who are the leading companies. They have all the data. They are the tech. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. Absolutely. There you have it. My goodness, you better start. Baby steps is what Immaculate is saying, that you better start and prepare yourself. Don't wait for the disasters to happen. And of course, for the corporates that are listening in, I hope you have already started on those baby steps. Thank you so much for your time. I leave you now with the markets. Keep yourself data protected.